Sahana vavatu, Sahano bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyanatmani Mayaya Bahirivotbhutam Yata Nidraya Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshina Murtaye. So as we begin to build a foundation of learning Vedanta, the problem, the solution, the vision, the promise, we need to understand fully exactly what's going on, where am I doing wrong, what am I doing right, what is the way forward. So in this segment, I will talk a little bit about what, and you already know this, but it is a matter of categorizing it to revise the conceptual aspects of it so that your clarity becomes even better. So today we will talk a little bit about what's called intelligent seeking. Seeking with wisdom. And it's interesting, if you look at the very first verse of Vyasa's Brahma Sutra. And Vyasa's Brahma Sutra is the highest form of analysis of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and all of them. Highest form of analysis, as you know, through the sutras. The very first sutra is what is, you already know this, is called Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa, meaning Atha means thereafter. Ataha means therefore. Brahma Jigyasa, the enquiry into a sense of completeness. This is the translation of this first sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So what this points out to, and this is what we are going to primarily focus on in this class, is distinguishing unintelligent seeking from intelligent seeking. Now, seeking is a must. It is very natural. From the time that we are born, we are in fact all seekers of happiness, of ananda. It's very natural to us. It is not an acquired desire. It's a natural desire. It doesn't have to be taught. It doesn't have to be chosen. It's an unchosen, natural quality of anyone who is born in this life. So Oh no, very, very clearly you can see this, that you do not have to teach a newborn baby to be happy. Because a newborn baby already knows that I want to be happy. This is why it cries. If it didn't know that I want to be happy, then it would be okay for being hungry, of being wet, and being uncomfortable or cold. It's okay, no problem. But that's not the case. In fact, it's interesting, some of the physicians amongst you might know this, that it is important for a newborn baby to cry. When our first newborn granddaughter Arya was born almost 18 years ago, there was some concern because she was not crying for a while. And all the doctors and her own mother, who is a physician who gave birth to her daughter, they were somewhat concerned. So it is not, and she was okay. It was just nothing very, sometimes, it's very possible that the child is not born normal. So there's some concern. But every baby cries because it is a seeker of ananda, happiness. It wants to be full. It wants to be resting. It wants to be warm. Just the other day, our 1-year-old, no longer 1-year-old, he's almost like 20 months old. So he came to spend the weekend. And normally he's a very affable guy, always smiling and so on. But that, for some reason, he was very irritated. And wouldn't you just give him food? And he says, no. And he wanted to watch golf on the cell phone. And his mother said, no golf at this point. Then they correctly ascertained this fellow has not had a nap for 4 hours. And he's very tired and irritated. So this was the panacea for the mother and father of the baby. And they finally put him what they had to do was to put in a car and drive so that he fall asleep. And he did. And he was okay after that. So all the kids, all the people, both you and I, we are seekers of happiness. And we satisfy our seeking by various means. Food is the most important one, and not the other ones. Everything else that goes on in the life is really a panacea for seeking. But the issue is, it doesn't last. And we get kind of used to it. We don't like it, but it's okay for us to not be happy. It's interesting. This is one of my favorite topics. People that go for vacations, especially for a short time, maybe on a weekend or something like that. If you total up the amount of unhappiness that this travel causes and compare it to the happiness that travel causes, I think if everybody did an honest assessment, like a honest accounting, the people will think twice about it. I mean, just look at it. Next time you're planning a trip, write down all the points where You're frustrated, trying to book a seat, all this money. And in my case, travel is just bad because I get affected by some virus or the other, and I'm still going through. I didn't even want to go, honestly, quite speaking. It was because the whole family wanted to go, and they'll say, "What? We cannot leave you alone. Come along." So I went along with it. I don't want to go anywhere. Life, hard as it is, just staying where you are. I don't want to complicate it. Anyway, I'm going into too much detail. But what I'm saying is that seeking for happiness is very natural. The nature of the human being is happiness, and that's what we are seeking. Everybody seeks their own nature. You cannot, the only time you ask somebody, "Hey, what's wrong?" is if he's unhappy. You never ask somebody, "Why are you happy?" Because it is natural to be happy. Okay, now the question is, we can be occasionally happy, but most of the time we are not happy. It's a very funny situation. And here Swami Dayanandji had pointed out, I just happened to be reading some of his, I'll mention this in a book, an important segment of the book, Introduction to Vedanta by Swami Dayanandji. I'll read some portions out of it. But he made an interesting point that I had forgotten. So he calls it, it's just the words that he uses. I've been using the word incomplete. So in the Sanskrit, the words that Swami Akhandananda uses is parichinna. Parichinna means incomplete, limited, feeling small. And aparichinna, the opposite of that, means a feeling of fullness. I'm okay. There's nothing that I need, nothing that I want. Do you want to do this? No, I'm okay. I'm just okay. This is called aparichinna, and parichinna means the incompleteness, completeness and incompleteness. The words that Swami Dayanandji uses, this is from the very old one, he uses his own vocabulary, is a feeling of inadequacy or adequacy. So it's just a word that he uses, but the idea is the same. You feel adequate occasionally. Most of the time you feel inadequate. I need this, I'm not happy with this, etc., etc. And the very interesting thing Swami Dayanandji had pointed out, this is a very important thing. The level of adequacy does not change. Level of adequacy. There is no super adequacy. You are either adequate, and this is why the word complete is better. You're either complete or you're incomplete. There's no degree of incompleteness, degree of completeness. There's only one or two. And that is our experience. So please look at this. Occasionally we feel complete. Most of the time that occurs after a meal. When we were hungry and the hunger gives rise to irritation, different ideas, what to do, what not to do. But once you have had a good meal, as Swami Dayanandji used to say, you develop what is called alam buddhi. Alam buddhi means I am okay. Now I don't need anything. Do you want one more chapati? No. That's it. I don't want anything. Anything else I can do for you? No. You're just happy. And the same thing occurs if you are reading a very good book. Our 3.5-year-old granddaughter, I tell you, it's very impressive to see. There are some books that she reads where she's totally engrossed in it, happy. And you ask her, Sanyam, she's not even listening. She's just totally engrossed. And of course that happens most often when they're given screen time. And once in a while, when the kids are sick, they're given screen time. Or if they're traveling on the plane, they're given screen time. They are very absorbed and happy. I'm okay. I don't need anything. You try to give them some food, they'll say, no, I'm just let me just do this. So the feeling of adequacy is only one feeling of adequacy. And by the way, this feeling of what's called adequacy or completeness is given to us in, you know what, deep sleep. No matter what the problems are, they're withdrawn from you. It's a feeling of adequacy. Okay, so now we have to analyze this. Occasionally I feel adequate, complete. Most of the time I don't feel adequate. So this creates a sense of, you can call it conflict, of confusion. Am I adequate? So Swami Dayanandaji had posed this question very well, because when I was looking for a couple of things in this book, I was just reading this, he pointed all of this out. This, by the way, is one of the seminal book now called Introduction to Vedanta. It was written by one of my colleagues from Piercy. It was edited by her. It was obviously dictated by Swami Dayanandaji, but edited by Barbara Thornton. So first published in 1989. Interesting. So we graduated from Piercy in 1982, and Barbara and her daughter Peggy were both our fellow students. And Barbara was a lawyer, and when the Arsha Vidya Center was formed by Swamiji, when we got separated from Chinmaya Mission, and Swamiji decided to build an organization of his own, so he created at that time a small board of 5 people. And Barbara was a member of that board. And I was the secretary of the board. And Swamiji was the president of the board. Quite later on, I requested him to please allow me to leave because I was not contributing anything. I was on the West Coast. Salisbury is in the East Coast. So he finally agreed to do that. But for a number of years, I was the secretary of the board. And Barbara was the lawyer. She was the attorney for the board. Very good student. And she was the one who edited this book. It took her like 6-7 years to publish this in 1989. Beautiful book. And I highly recommend it. I don't know if it's still in, maybe it's available online. But if you were to sort of have an introduction to Vedanta, and not only for yourself, but to teach others, this is a very good book. And I'll go through some portions of that. So in this book, Swamiji was pointing out that this sense of occasional adequacy and most of the time inadequacy, incompleteness, creates a sort of a confusion in people's mind. Who am I? Am I naturally adequate where something disturbs me and I become inadequate? Or I'm naturally inadequate and I have to do something to become adequate? This is the question that people have unanswered, not really very clearly answered in their own minds. I would say from our experience and our experience, it is the latter, not the former. Meaning, we feel we are basically inadequate. And occasionally we, because of food or some other things, we become adequate, but our basic nature is that of inadequacy, of incompleteness. And furthermore, we don't like it. And so we try to, this is what is called seeking. So we try to do something in order to remove that sense of inadequacy. This is what life is. It's what everybody does. And it seems like it's normal. I mean, you ask somebody, don't you feel this way? They say, yep, we all feel the same way. So there is a little bit of relief that I don't have a unique problem. Everybody has the same problem. We don't like it, but what to do? This is the situation. So now I'll tell you, this is an important turning point. An important turning point in the analysis of this whole problem. That important turning point is what is pointed out in the first verse of the Brahma Sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And as I will show it to you in the next few minutes, Brahma Jigyasa means resorting to intelligent seeking. You can label all our normal seeking of happiness as unintelligent seeking. And why should we call it unintelligent seeking? Maybe it is intelligent seeking. No, we cannot call it intelligent seeking because it does not yield results. It is an unsuccessful seeking. Yeah, but everybody does it. That's how life is all about. Everybody doesn't mean that it is right. In the old days, except in India, everybody thought the earth is flat. And you ask everybody, do you think it is? Billions of people say, yeah, it's flat. But billions of people saying it is flat doesn't make it flat. So is everybody else saying that this is okay, that seeking is okay, it does not make it intelligent seeking. And basically it is not intelligent seeking because it does not yield the results that I want. This is a very important point. So let us focus on what does that mean. What is the difference between intelligent seeking and unintelligent seeking? So, Brahma Jigyasa means, Jnatum Ichcha means to know Brahma intelligently. To know Brahman means to know completeness. Brahman means completeness, which is nothing but our own nature. But to seek it in a way that yields results. So this is pointed out in a very key verse from the Mundaka Upanishad. And the Mundaka Upanishad reference is 1-2-12. Chapter 1, section 2, verse number 12. And this is the one that you must have heard me say many, many times. And a very important one to understand, not only just to chant it, but to understand and make that as a cornerstone of our life. So it says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan ayat brahmanaha nasti akritaha kritena tat vijnanartham gurum eva abhigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtam. These are the two lines of the verse. Pariksha lokan karmachitan ayat brahmanaha nasti akritaha kritena tat vijnanartham gurumeva abhigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtam. This is the meaning. So let us see the meaning of it. And let us see how we can switch between unintelligent seeking to intelligent seeking. So let's completely understand it. Let's just focus on this one thing. If this is clear to us, I tell you, our lives can change. So what it says is this. The problem we have with ourselves is that we have a conclusion, all is not well with me. In other words, I am inadequate. In other words, aham parichinnaha. In other words, I am a small individual. So the small individual means that not in size. We may be 7 foot 3 inches tall. But as an individual, I am not adequately happy. And I am not happy about the fact that I'm inadequately happy. So therefore, I'm trying to do some things. But my conclusion after doing things remains that I am a limited person. In the words of Swami Dayanandji, I am an inadequate person. Okay? So here's the situation. Please see this very clearly. I have only a few things in my disposal. One of them is what is called pravritti. Pravritti means to acquire, to connect. To do something proactively, which will lead me to a sense of adequacy. An example of that is to get married. When you are single, you feel, of course, everybody feels limited, but in addition to feeling limited, you have a particular loneliness that I need a companion. And if I get married, maybe I will become adequate. So this is what is called pravritti marga. Pravritti means a positive connection with somebody, acquisition of some companionship. Okay? For those of you that have been married, know it doesn't happen. A few things get better, a few things get worse, but your conclusion that I'm inadequate remains untouched. Think about this is an important analysis. The other tools that we have is nivritti. Nivritti means not going towards but going away, rejecting, disconnecting. Great example, to get divorced. So you feel that my life is, or to give up a job. Some jobs make you unhappy, the boss is terrible, the whole situation, it does not engender any kind of happiness for me, and I want to just quit. Nivritti marga, or get divorced, because you ascribe your sense of inadequacy as something that you cannot tolerate. Your spouse is not to your liking, it's too constraining, and you just don't want to continue. So you divorce. And just in the case of marriage, when for a while there is honeymoon, everything looks, yeah, this is better. You have somebody at home you can talk to, you don't have to call up any friends, and you share ideas, you cook together, it's wonderful. It's some kind of a honeymoon. But through that, your sense of incompletion remains. This is the important thing. And when you get divorced, the same thing in the opposite direction. I'm sure, I have never been divorced, and I hope I never am, but if you ever been divorced, I'm sure that you had a sense of honeymoon after the divorce. Gone. Space. I don't have to be constrained. I don't want to be living with a abusive person or whatever. I don't have to do that. I'm free. Somehow why didn't I do this before? I am now happy. Just for a short time. Now you're becoming lonely again. So it doesn't matter. So this is an important thing, really. Please think about this. And this is all from our acharyas. Don't just take my word for it. This is the lessons of Vedanta. The action of changing things in your world, pravritti or nivritti, or something in between, whatever I do in my life, as changing my situation one form or the other, has nothing to do with your conclusion that you are limited. This is a crucial understanding that has to take place. That I'm acting idiotically. I am searching for something outside of me when my basic conclusion that I am inadequate, which bothers me, that conclusion bothers me, remains untouched. You see, this is the situation. And this is why whatever you do in your life does not disturb the sense of incompleteness. See the truth of this. Now you begin to see what everybody is doing and what a mad world this is. And in some other ways, all we are dealing with is ointments and panaceas. The basic disease remains untouched, untreatable. You see, this is an important understanding, a point of understanding. That doesn't matter what I do, as long as my sense of incompleteness remains untouched, it does not matter what I do outside. They have no connection with respect to each other. This is what is said in this verse in Mundaka Upanishad. Parikshya lokan karmachitan. Karmachitan lokan parikshya. Parikshya means, pariksha is a very important, interesting word. To see is called ik, to see something. Ikshya means having seen. Then there is a prefix to it called pari. Pari stands for paritaha. Paritaha means completely. You know, in Sanskrit, you know what an exam is called? Pariksha. Pariksha. Pariksha means an exam. So when you give an exam on a subject matter, they thoroughly test you. It's not just a midterm. It's a final exam. So the final exam is called pariksha. Pariksha means paritaha iksha. A thoroughly seeing something is called pariksha. So pariksha is a past participle which says having seen, having analyzed your life thoughtfully. Because we don't do that. We're just, keep on staying in life and all the way up to passing of the body. Whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not sure what I can do, etc., etc. It's just a sense of not examination. But if one thoughtfully, Brahmana, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Karmachitan means those lokas that are approached as karma. So there are lokas that allow you to achieve a sense of adequacy by doing things, by passing exams, by making money, by winning elections, and so on. Those are all karmachitan lokan. But it says pariksha lokan karmachitan, having examined the nature of pravritti and nivritti. Brahmana. Brahmana means one whose buddhi get awakened, who become thoughtful, contemplative. They are not involved in the flow of things, but they think. Vicharvan. And what happens? Nasti akritaha kritena. Beautiful. Please understand this very thoroughly. Akritaha kritena nasti. What it means is that my doing things by kritena is a third case. By doing things, my conclusion that I am inadequate remains unfulfilled, unchanged, untouched. This is the conclusion that the wise person comes to. That no matter what I do, the fact that I feel small is unaffected. And I'm fooling myself. Doing this, doing that, not doing it, removing it, changing jobs, changing lives, whatever it is unaffected. This is foolish. This is the realization. Nasti akritaha. Akritaha means, so the word is a very important word. It took me a long time to understand it also. It is the self. It is the Atma. So my own nature, and in this point my nature which is wrongly perceived to be inadequate, but nevertheless my own nature is unaffected by what I'm doing. Nasti akritaha kritena. One can really spend a lot of time on this. One of the things about akritaha kritena means that akritaha means the self is the only entity in the whole creation which does not happen. Think about that. You don't happen. Everything else happens. Things happen. And if you have an inadequate understanding of yourself as being formful, then things happen to you, the formful being. But you, the Atma, the formless Atma, does not happen. And so another way of looking at the same verse, nasti akritaha kritena, means no matter what happens, there is no change in me which does not happen. Think about that. This is the truth. Aham satsvarupaha. Does not need any pramana, no nothing. Just plain satsvarupaha. And all the things that are apparently happening to me do not change me. And yet, even though this is the case, you see, this is the situation. There comes a point in somebody's life where you realize that, my gosh, what I'm doing doesn't change my conclusion about myself, which is a wrong conclusion, but nevertheless, wrong or right, it is unaffected by what I'm doing outside. I remain the same as an incomplete being, and I will remain the incomplete being regardless of what is happening to me. This is the point, and I don't like it. It is the first line. Pariksha lokan karmachitan ayat means let the Brahmana come to this conclusion. What conclusion? Nasti akritaha kritena. But it's a very uncomfortable situation that whatever, at least, people who feel that I am inadequate at the moment, but I'll do some things that make me better. And don't disturb me. All this talk about Vedanta and this is philosophy and this, that, or the other, let me do that. Whether it helps me 15 years from now, let me be the judge of that. But don't disturb me. But when it comes to this conclusion that, my God, no matter what I do, so this is why it says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan. That's why I think in Vedanta, unless you are so lucky that you did this analysis in your previous life, you have to go through a certain experience of life before you begin to realize this is not working. Whatever I'm doing, whether I'm getting married, or I'm getting divorced, or I'm getting new jobs, or I'm leaving jobs, or I'm doing this, my conclusion that I'm inadequate does not change. This is not a good situation. So then comes the second line, which is the answer, which says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan ayat Brahmana ayat nasti akritaha tat vijnanartham. To know what is going on, approach a guru who is both a Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta. So that we will examine later. So here, the same intelligent person who has made this distinction between intelligent seeking versus non-intelligent seeking should also see that the desire for complete moksha is also very natural on my part. It's not an acquired desire. This is not some casual desire. As I was saying in some of the previous classes, the desires are either given by Ishvara, which are natural, and all natural desires have a way of fulfillment. You cannot have a natural desire which cannot be fulfilled. No way. Only acquired desires may or may not be fulfilled. Acquired means just human desires. That may, this is what happens. People say, I want to be a millionaire before I turn 30. Okay, good. Congratulations. You're 29 and a half when you have $10,000 in your bank. And you have only 6 more months to go, and there's nothing on the horizon that appears that you will become a millionaire in another 6 months. So you say, you know what? That was stupid on my part. Okay, I'll try for 40 years. You can give it up. And you can laugh about it. You can tell everybody, I had this foolish thing that I'll be millionaire before 30. That wasn't going to be. So that's okay. You cannot do that for natural desires. If you desire to not be hungry, which is a natural desire, you cannot give it up. Oh, it's okay, I don't mind. Maybe I'll just die of hunger. It's okay. No way. So the desire to be full is a natural one. And this person knows it. And so there must be an answer. See, this is important. There must be an answer. I am not able to find it myself, but there must be a way. What is it? To know that, go to a one person who has achieved a sense of fullness and can teach somebody. And that should be someone who is not just academic, but his life itself should be such that it is a model for fulfillment. He seems happy. Not doing anything, he is happy. Doing anything, he is happy. There's something about that Mahatma. So he says, please approach that person and say, what is going on? How come you can achieve it, but I could not? I cannot, not could not, but I cannot. I know to know. So here, let me now, in the closing aspect of it, talk about what the teacher answers to a sincere jigyasu, not a mumukshu. Everybody is a mumukshu, but a jigyasu. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasu is the one who says, I see the problem I am not solving because my seeking is not intelligent. There must be an intelligent seeking. What is it? I want to know. Gyatumichuhu, Jigyasu. This verse is taken up in so many books. I mean, this book by Swami Akhandananda and also others about this first verse, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, explains this in great detail. But I think I've given you the gist of it just in this one class. Intelligent seeking. So how does the teacher respond to, you see, so this is why they all say that, and all the acharyas say, that's Swami Akhandananda also says it, that it is important for the student to approach a teacher rather than the other way around. And I was reading something by him and it got reminded only like a month or so ago. And you know, I'm committed to have a course in Sailorsburg based on Bhagavad Gita this year in May. And all of a sudden I decided, you know, my asking people to come and so on is not right. And you know, if I ask all of you, please come, we'll spend a week together and this, it'll be so on, so it'll be wonderful. I can do that. And I'll be remiss if not, at least I think I'm going to compose an email and send it to you. But I'd like to do something different. I'm not going to bug you. If you have things to do with your life, you're not clear about it, please don't come. I'm okay with that. Because just by teaching someone who's not ready does not give you any results. Other than the fact people will ask me, my own family, how many students went with you? So I feel that kind of, if I say 7, they'll say, what? But if I say 25, they all feel, oh, good. So that's the only difference. So I also decided I'm not going to really bug you. I'm not going to individually call you and say, are you coming or not? If you don't want to come, don't come. So this is the thing, is that the student must realize that what I'm doing is not working. Is there a better way? Then you approach a teacher. Then things happen. Anyway, so let me do this. In this book, Introduction to Vedanta by Swamiji, Swami Dayanandji, he begins the answer to the person, what am I doing wrong? Because no matter what I do doesn't seem to affect my conclusion. How do I do this? And it means you have to analyze who you are. The reason that you are making a wrong conclusion is because you're misplaced about what you think you are. And in order to provide the basic background to this, on page 32, Swamiji gives a very important, which I've already told, but you know what I'm going to do in the next 10 minutes? Just read accurately Swamiji's words in the next 2 pages. So please listen to it as though Swami Dayananda is talking to you. He says, the basis of the answer is distinguishing knowledge and experience. How can the contradictory experiences of adequacy and inadequacy be reconciled. Here, it is necessary to distinguish knowledge from experience. So now listen carefully. Knowledge is the grasp of what is. Experience is the direct perceptual participation in an event. Again, knowledge is the grasp of what is. Experience is the direct perceptual participation in an event. Experience can lead to knowledge, but the impression of experience need not be knowledge. Experience has to be assimilated in terms of knowledge. This is so because one may experience something and still be ignorant of it. Experience is one thing. Knowledge of what I have experienced is quite another. When I have knowledge, it includes perception. It includes experience. But experience does not have to include knowledge. For knowledge, what is experienced must be known for what it is. Experience may or may not coincide with knowledge. Knowledge is something that can both contradict experience and resolve the seeming contradictions in experience. Experience can lead to knowledge. Experience need not include or be knowledge. Experiences can be contradictory. Knowledge includes experience. Knowledge can contradict experience. Knowledge can also resolve the contradictions in experience. Knowledge cannot be contradicted. Any given set of perceptual impressions gained from experience may or may not conform to knowledge. To qualify as knowledge, they must pass the test of inquiry. Now an example. For instance, the experience in most parts of the world is that the sun rises each day in the eastern sky and travels to the west where it sets. In the polar regions, at a particular time of the year, the experience is that the sun travels in a circle. Sunrise and sunset are not experienced. Now, which set of experiences should be taken as real? Are both sets of experiences real? An analysis becomes necessary. An inquiry must be made, taking into account all available factors. The questions are, is the experience of a sun that rises in the east and sets in the west fact or not? Is this observation true? What about the polar sun that can be seen traveling in a circle? How does this observation correspond with fact? Experience number 1, the sun rises and sets. Experience number 2, The sun moves in a circle. Knowledge. With respect to the earth, the sun is stationary, neither rising, nor setting, nor moving in a circle. The sun appears to rise or set or move in a circle from the standpoint of a particular spot on the orbiting planet turning on its axis. After inquiry and analysis, the contradictions are resolved in a true understanding of the relationship of the earth to the sun. The sun, although apparently in motion, stationary as it relates to the earth. The appreciation of this fact is knowledge. The experiences were only mithya, apparent, something which appears to be but is not. The sight of a rising or setting sun may be a beautiful experience, but in terms of knowledge, it is an illusion. Experiences may contradict each other. Knowledge encompasses and reconciles the contradictions. Okay, so this is as far as seeing the example. Now comes the last part. Inquiry into the nature of oneself, Atma Vichara. With regard to oneself, there are two contradictory sets of experiences. Most of the time, experientially, I find myself to be inadequate. And yet, there are moments when I find myself adequate, not wanting, full and complete. The question thus arises, am I adequate or am I inadequate? There is an experience to support either conclusion. Or perhaps I must conclude that I am occasionally adequate and often inadequate. Or that I am occasionally inadequate and largely adequate. If these are the conclusions, then I must reflect how I become inadequate, if in fact I am adequate, or vice versa. Such reflection requires inquiry. This is called Atma Vichara. And goes on to more detailed form of the method of doing of the discrimination, of vichara, kind of a scientific inquiry into the relationship between my contradicting experiences of myself versus reconciliation of that through something that explains all of it. This is intelligent seeking. So this is what is called Brahma Jigyasa, Jnatumichha. But it really, I think the crux of this is, otherwise we haven't got ready yet. The crux of that is to understand that I'm doing something idiotic, foolish. It's though I'm doing something where I am not. I don't know, it may not be the best example, but let's say that you have a glass window, beautiful glass window, which I do. And that's where the example comes from. So the external glass side of the glass, it gets dirty. There are marks of cobwebs, there's dirt, all kinds of things that happen. And they appear to me to be, pratyaksha, I can see them. Now if I take a paper towel and a spray and simply clean the inside, and then I find nothing has changed. The dirt is still there. So if I keep on doing it over and over again, in the hope that somehow the dirt outside will also be cleaned, is that madness or not? It is madness. Somebody will say, what were you doing? Again and again. What you have to do is to go outside and clean where it is. Basically, it may sound very sophisticated and so on, but that's exactly what is happening in our lives. I'm rearranging the deck chairs, changing this and changing that and so on, when in fact my issue is with myself. And I'm not doing anything to inquire about that. Is that not foolishness? It's exactly like that. When your mind awakens to this stupidity, it's not as though you don't deal with the world. You keep on dealing with the world. But how does that affect your own conclusion about yourself? It has nothing to do with it. This is what Vedanta is all about. This is why we keep saying that it is nothing to be done but something to be known. It's praptasya praptihi. Karma is necessary for apraptasya praptihi. But for someone which you are still going to be the same. You go somewhere, you'll still be the same person. You may feel moments of happiness, it's a new place. This is why I think what happens is that people go on vacations and new places. So their mind gets so absorbed in looking at new things. My gosh, I've never seen this before. This is beautiful. That while you are engaged in looking at some new things, you forget about the inadequacy of yourself. And you feel, this is very good. I love it. The inadequacy of yourself, which is regardless of whether you go on to a new place or not, remains the same. So this is Vedanta. This is what we have to study. And the study does not become meaningful unless this idiotic dichotomy between what you're doing and your own conclusion becomes apparent. Then the study becomes very relevant. So this is why this important verse should be committed to memory. Pariksha lokan karmachitan nasti akritaha kritena tat vijnanartham gurumeva vigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtam. That is the beginning of Vedanta. That we will continue. Sorry about my voice, I'm still not. I'm going to go see if I can get an antibiotic because I'm okay. I'm not really, it's not that bad, but my voice gets very dry and I have to strain for it. So it'll take me a while. Probably another, I would say, my estimate is about 2 more weeks before it gets any better. So we'll see. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Okay, let us see. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Worship be committed. Nice to see you all. Wonderful. Happy Makar Sankranti. Happy Lori. All right, I don't see any questions, so I will take your leave. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Hari Om.